Hello, good to see y'all. Lot to go through today. Ton of Epstein stuff. Some things I saved from last night, but there's also been some news from the, I guess, committee of politicians that have been able to go in and look at the redactions. Hey, what's up, everybody in chat? Steph and Rowdy and Roxy, right? Yeah. What's up? Yeah, I was I lost track of time doing something. Before we get into everything though, I want to check in on this biolab story cuz this is not looking good.
Breaking
Crown, welcome.
now, the property manager connected to us.
So yeah, they lit this guy out. What's up, Jed? Good to see you, Donna. Yeah, after about 2 days they lit this guy out. I got no clue what's going on here.
Suspected biolab here in Las Vegas will get freedom as a case linked to last weekend's raid moves forward. Thank you so much for joining us here at 4. I'm Ozzy Mora.
And I'm Brian Loftus. The 8 News Now investigators David Charnes breaking several aspects of this story since that raid on Saturday. David, live outside a federal court where a judge.
He really hit the note there. I like that.
Judge just issued that decision. David?
And that judge ordered this property manager released on the gun charge he faces. Remember, right now he faces no charges connected to the actual biolab. And in court, federal prosecutors didn't even ask her to detain him pending trial. Now, this is 55-year-old Ori Solomon. No cameras in federal court, so all we have to show you is his photo. He's an Israeli citizen here on a non-immigrant visa, and that means he can't own any guns. But during the raid over the weekend, the FBI says it found guns, and in a subsequent jail call, he mentioned those guns to a family member, and that landed him in federal custody. Now, that lab, of course, also revealing suspected biological material, though it's really important.
So he mainly got held for the gun, and then they let him out for that.
To remind you,
I guess that is why they're trying to do stricter laws, but they still didn't find out what this guy's doing, or at least they haven't said. That's why I think there's something going on, especially because like nobody's talking about this. It's hard to even find stories on it.
We don't exactly know what that material is right now, what possible pathogens Metro in the FBI sees. It's all still getting tested. Solomon is the property manager of the short-term rental where all of this happened up in Sunrise Manor. He's actually a property manager for dozens of properties, and he's lived in our communities for more than 2 decades. So because of all that, and because there is no federal charge, at least yet, connected to the biolab, this judge ordered his release today. He does have to surrender his passports, and he does have to tell the court here if he plans to leave the county. Live outside federal court in downtown Las Vegas, I'm David Charnes, 8 News Now.
Metro Police initially detained Solomon on a hazardous waste charge that was connected to the raid because the feds then charged them. He was moved to their custody. We don't know yet how both of these cases will play out simultaneously, and testing of the substances seized in the raid is ongoing.
Man who fled BC more than a decade ago to evade.
So this is another story from Canada, and apparently the other dude connected to this story fled Canada or something. What's up, IC?
A multi-million-dollar judgment against him has now turned up in the U.S. And our Jason Proctor has been following this story. So, Jason, who is this man and how did authorities find him?
Well, his name is Jesse Zhu, and he's actually been in jail in California for 2 years. And he's in the headlines right now, though, because of this discovery last weekend in Las Vegas of this home that he owns where, Las Vegas authorities say they uncovered a suspected biological laboratory, this locked garage in this house, again, owned by Jesse Zhu, that is full of sort of vials of strange kind of material, biological material that they're testing. Now, what's interesting is he was arrested a couple of years ago in California after the discovery of a similar lab in that city. And he's now actually facing charges of selling adulterated COVID test kits. It's kind of a complicated case. But the thing is, he and his name are familiar to people in BC.
Like COVID test kits that have stuff in them?
and particularly in the BC courts, because he was at the center of this strange case more than a decade ago that saw one of the biggest judgments awarded in BC history.
Wow. Okay. So what was he actually wanted for in BC?
Well, he was actually wanted for civil contempt of court, and that's after this lengthy court battle that saw judgments ultimately coming to about $270 million against him. And again, it all comes back to science and his sort of scientific interest, because he ran a group of companies here who were ultimately accused in civil court of conspiring to steal very lucrative technology that was able basically to separate sexes out of bull semen, which is a massively lucrative market, as you can imagine, because you can predict what type of cow or bull your cow will give birth to.
Okay.
And so he was accused of taking this technology, retrofitting it, selling it in China, and trying to essentially put this giant U.S. firm out of business with regards to that. And he ignored a judgment. He was found in contempt of court. And then he vanished from BC, and he turns up at the center of this. So certainly tons of questions swirling in the States around him, and questions in BC also around this judgment, that still sort of remains outstanding.
Right. And questions around, the number of biolabs that are around that people don't really know about. Just a fascinating story.
It's very unusual.
Yes. Okay. All right. If you want to read more, you
Yeah, the like lack of attention that this has gotten, and the like very slow drip of information, the fact that the guy's been released all of a sudden, the other guy's still locked up in jail, for a different situation in California. There's no news on what happens to the 30 some other Airbnbs that this guy owned, if there were biolabs in them possibly. You got to imagine that there probably was. This is one of the most weird cases I've seen in a while. But yeah, let's take a look at this real quick. Getting into the files. So I think Ro Khanna, Thomas Massey, and Jamie Raskin, I think, were the ones that I saw giving interviews about what they saw in regards to the files. And from what I can gather, like something is up with Prince Andrew for sure. Like I feel like he is implicated in an extremely big way, and there have been signals now from the royal family that they are ready to cooperate with the police in an investigation into Andrew, which means that he can't really hide unless he wants to flee somewhere and try to go, somewhere that doesn't have extradition. But he lived in his family's house on his family's money, so it's going to be kind of difficult for him to wiggle out of that if they are cooperating. And of course, one of the main reasons why they are cooperating is because one of the comments that were made is that whatever's in there is so bad that it could bring down the monarchy.
That long.
Well, that was an interesting experience. The user interface is a little clunky at first, but what I saw that bothered me were the names of at least 6 men that have been redacted that are likely incriminated by their inclusion in these files. So that's the first thing that I saw. It took some digging to find them. Then I'll let you talk about what you saw.
Well, and we discussed that. I mean, there are 6 men, some of them with their photographs, that have been redacted, and there's no explanation why those people were redacted. And Thomas discovered it through his MIT logic and some of the searches. But, that's really concerning. I think there are 2 other points. One is some of the internet concern about some of the more sensational emails. I mean, I do think it's important to recognize that some of the senders on that are women. And so some of the redactions may be appropriate, some may not be appropriate. We need to look at that. But just because there's an email out there, it doesn't mean that there's necessarily an improper redaction. The bigger concern is these 6 individuals. I will say that the staff was very professional in allowing us to do the searches. Our bigger concern is that there's still a lot that's redacted. Even in what we're seeing redacted versions. I thought we were supposed to see the unredacted versions, and that's because the documents produced to justice from the FBI, from the grand jury, was redacted when they got it. So we kept doing the searches for the unredacted information, and it's the identical redactions that they have. Now, I don't think that's nefarious on the career attorneys that were reviewing it.
So basically, some of them, they got some new information, some things were redacted, but a lot of the things, that were like fully blacked out, those pages, a lot of them are still like that. And that's because apparently that's what the FBI did from the jump. So it's not clear whether the DOJ even had access to some of them files unredacted, but with the collusion that's happening between these agencies now, you would have to imagine that there was.
But they obviously haven't gotten the production because our law says that the FBI and the original grand jury needs to be unredacted.
Right. The U.S. attorneys and the FBI are compelled, as well as the DOJ. And the DOJ was responsible for this document production. And they just produced documents that have been given to them from the FBI, the 302 forms, for instance, which need to be unredacted. There was one other thing that definitely needs to be addressed. Some of these files have been taken down, like the DOJ produced them, and for some reason they took them down. Maybe they decided that victims' names were in there and that they needed further redactions. But those documents not only haven't been put back up on the site with the appropriate redactions, they were not available to us to search. As far as I could tell, we couldn't search the documents that had been taken off the internet.
Can you share with us the name of the 6 men that you identified?
I probably should do that from the floor or in a committee hearing.
And look, they should be releasing these documents. We
At first, I was like, "Why is he doing that?" Yeah, exactly. But I guess, Epstein is apparently not here anymore, so it's not like, and even though the criminal enterprise is still continuing, it is kind of weird. I think it is legal things. I'm not sure what it is, but he should.
We have many avenues where we can compel that legally. Maybe they've done it out of oversight. I don't know. I don't believe that. But, they should be releasing those documents. And our hope is to get them to do that. And then in some of the redactions, they need to be very careful on whether that was a survivor or not. Just because, for example, someone is female doesn't necessarily mean they're survivors. And it seemed like they blanket redacted anyone who was a female from my review.
Yeah, I would like to give the DOJ a chance to say they made a mistake and over-redacted and let them unredact those men's names.
It's like all this kicking the ball back and forth is still so, I don't understand it. I understand why the victims aren't and survivors aren't like coming forward and saying those names, because they're probably in fear for their life. But these guys, come on now.
That would probably be the best way to do it.
So how much of the redactions, you said that there are a lot of the documents, some of what you saw in there had redactions. How much new information then did you see that was unredacted, or did it look pretty similar to what we've seen publicly?
I mean, what we're after is the men who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked women to. We want those names published. We're not out to embarrass people. And the problem is we went in there hoping to see that in 302 forms. What we found out is those 302 forms were redacted before they got to the DOJ. But our legislation directs the FBI, which is the agency that produced those 302 forms, to also produce these documents. The Attorney General is ultimately responsible for that production. So that's why we're here at the DOJ to view these files. But there needs to be more information given in those 302s. So I was disappointed we didn't find that. But it's also clear, just sort of as a checking their homework, that they need to do a little more homework. There are 6 men. We went in there for 2 hours. There's millions of files, right? And in a couple of hours, we found 6 men whose names have been redacted who are implicated in the way that the files are presented.
What's your message to Pam Bondi after what you saw today?
Need to do a little more work. And we'll see her at the Judiciary Committee here in a couple of days.
At the very least, these 6 men, maybe she can make public. I mean, we're happy to provide the information to them, and they should do that. Look, there's some of the effort, because there were a lot of career attorneys on there. There's some redactions that were appropriate, some to protect the survivors. And some of the most sensational things out on the internet, there may have been appropriate redactions. So, for Thomas and me, it's always been about the facts. And our biggest concern is what was redacted before it even came to the Justice Department.
Yeah, they're being way too charitable to the Department of Justice. It's like, this is why they just get dog walked around, and they have for a year now.
I mean, the reality is that the most important things, the 302 files and some of the information on the prosecution memos, it's unclear that those redactions happened here. We saw a lot of files that already were redacted. And then, of course, they have been protecting some of these these men. Maybe it was not intentionally, but the law is very clear. They need to comply with the law.
And finally, the documents that they put up and decided for one reason or another they had to take back down, I was hoping to see those here. They didn't appear to be in the database that we were able to search. For those ostensibly are wholly redacted files now. We know they exist. They published them for a brief period of time and pulled them back. They need to answer to us as to do they.
That's a good point. I did not notice the body language and facial expressions that they have. They really do look spooked. Like, yeah.
Intend to redact those files and put them back up and put them in the database so that we can search them and see if it was appropriate to take them back down from the website.
Are these men U.S. citizens? What fields do they work in? Is it finance? Is it political?
At least one is a U.S. citizen. At least one is a foreigner, and the other 3 or 4 have names. I'm not sure if they're foreign or U.S.
And which field do they work in? Is it finance, banking, political?
One is pretty high up in the foreign government,
And
That's Prince Andrew right there, I'm sure.
and some are there. One of the others is a pretty prominent individual. But I think that the point is that these 6 are just what we found in 2 hours of a review of the files that aren't redacted. The broader issue is why so many of the files they're getting.
They said that when this all comes out, it's going to be like 10 times bigger than Watergate and Iran-Contra combined.
Are redacted in the first place. And until that becomes unredacted, the main things that they're sending to the career attorneys to review, I don't think we're going to have full compliance with the law. Get to the question that most Americans want to know. Who were the rich and powerful people who went to this island? Did they rape underage girls? Did they know that underage girls were being paraded around? And after seeing this, I don't blame the U.S. attorneys, the assistant U.S. attorneys reviewing it. If they're reviewing redacted material, what are they supposed to do? But they're getting, it seems like, material that's already been redacted.
Congressman Raskin also viewed these materials earlier, and he said that he saw President Trump's name redacted. He saw Lee Wexner's name redacted. Did you see President Trump's name redacted, Lee Wexner's name redacted? Can you share anything about that?
I didn't put Donald Trump in the search engine, so I couldn't say.
Jamie Raskin did, and Jamie Raskin found some things out in that regard. I have a video in a bit for that.
Why not?
I did, and that was a woman that wrote that. And so it may be proper to redact it, and it may not be. I don't know. It seems like part of their algorithm for redaction was just to redact every woman in there, pretty much.
Yeah.
So we can't parse if the person who sent that was a victim or not.
Well, none of this is designed to be a witch hunt. Just because someone may be in the file doesn't mean that they're guilty. But there are very powerful people who raped these underage girls. It wasn't just Epstein and Maxwell, or showed up to the island, or showed up to the ranch, or showed up to the home, knowing underage girls were being paraded around, and some of the sickening stuff in there about the violence. And what we want to do is have the investigation to get to those people, to answer those questions. Not to say that every internet rumor about some email is going to be true. And like I said, in some of the cases, the redactions may have been appropriate. But for Thomas and me, it's never been about getting Donald Trump or getting Bill Clinton or scoring political points or trying to destroy people's reputations. It's about actually getting justice for these survivors.
Do either of you plan to read the 6 names on the House floor?
I think we need to give the DOJ a chance to go back through and correct their mistakes.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that.
How long do they have?
They're already breaking the law. Look, they're way past the deadline.
Yeah,
and the
he's-
reason they
he's
gave
just
for taking
telling-
so
he's
much.
like, so when do you think they're gonna do that? And he's like, well, they're already past the law. So it's like you're dealing with these fools.
Law needs to be complied with because that's where a lot of the information is.
I think that was through the meat of the story there. But I have another one here that he actually said that this could take down the monarchy. And then I'll get into some of the things that have been happening over there. And I think basically that British intelligence already knows what's up with Prince Andrew and what's in there.
about the powerful people in this country and what their involvement was. And, you know, their involvement could have been that they were showing up at this island knowing that there was pedophilia taking place. Their involvement could have been that.
Let's take a look at this real quick.
I submitted to Comer a letter with 6 or 7 questions. Things like, who were the other co-conspirators? Who were the other men who raped these underage girls? Did she have any conversations about a deal with Donald Trump? And she's taken a blanket Fifth Amendment on any question. And my view is that in many of my questions, don't in any way incriminate her. So we'll see what she does. But there's 7 questions that I have specifically asked, and the assumption is she's pleading the 5th to each one of those, and the American people will see.
Yeah, that's about Ghislaine Maxwell's testimony, and we kind of already expected her to not say anything, and that's pretty much what happened.
That there's an inconsistency. Why did she not plead the 5th when Blanche asked her questions, and now she's pleading the 5th about things that don't implicate her, but may implicate many of the other powerful people in the Epstein class that committed these crimes.
I understand you're headed to DOJ this afternoon
With Thomas Massey, we're going to be there at 3 o'clock. I think the flight lands, and then we're headed over, and then we'll have a small availability after 5 o'clock, right after we're done with the documents.
Something else the committee's looking at, this idea that they're investigating the finances of Ms. Omar.
Yeah.
As part of this fraud investigation here, but they say, her wealth has gone up geometrically the past few years.
I don't think that we should be playing politics with this committee. It's unprecedented to go.
Trying to get to that question.
I don't know why we're trying to politicize the committee. I'd rather, what I do think Chair Cuomo should do? He should call a House Oversight Subcommittee on the Epstein hearings and haul in.
Mr. Carter, a British question, if I may. What do you say to the man formerly known as Prince Andrew and to Peter Mandelson with regard to giving evidence to your committee?
Mandelson may bring down the whole government, from what I hear. He just engaged in terrible behavior. I mean, the allegations are very serious that he was working for Gordon Brown and then feeding information about UK possibly buying euros and having Epstein trade on that. I mean, it is a deeply, deeply troubling. And, Epstein's, I saw this interview with Epstein's former girlfriend talking about how someone is a loser if they weren't mentioned in the Epstein files. It's a window into the elite impunity, this club. And by the way, I think this is the most vulnerable the British monarchy has ever been. I mean, I heard they were asking the Queen questions about the Epstein class. They ought to ask the King and Queen questions, and maybe this will be the end of the monarchy.
Oh, there's the quote there. Maybe this will be the end of the monarchy, and it's the most vulnerable that they've ever been. I think so too. I mean, I think, I'm not from the UK. I've never been there. I know that there is this idea that it is good for the reputation of the country, and it is like a tourism thing, but that's kind of blown out of the water at this point, I think.
This relates to...
Let's take a look at how they're reacting. Better than here, at least.
Of those Epstein files, because in the last few minutes, King Charles has made his first intervention in the Epstein scandal. He said that he is ready to support the police as they consider allegations against Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Here's a bit of the statement. The King has made clear in words and through unprecedented actions his profound concern at allegations which continue to come to light in respect of Mr. Mountbatten Windsor's conduct. That is according to a Buckingham Palace spokesperson. While the specific claims in question are for Mr. Mountbatten Windsor to address, if we are approached by Thames Valley Police, we stand ready to support them, as you would expect. Now, this all comes after Thames Valley Police confirmed it's assessing whether there are grounds to investigate a complaint by the anti-monarchy group Republic, which reported Mountbatten Windsor for suspected misconduct in public office and breach of official secrets. So that is the very latest.
So, yeah, and that's the other thing, is he was apparently sharing like government secrets with Epstein as well, in addition to all of the other crimes. I think that might be the thing that really ends up screwing him too.
Very surprising intervention by King Charles into the Epstein scandal, unprecedented even. Let's now hear a little bit more about this from our royal correspondent, Helena Wilkinson, who had told me a little bit more about this extraordinary statement from the palace.
I think the statement is quite extraordinary. It's the first time really that we have heard that through this statement, through the palace spokesperson statement, that the King's profound concerns at allegations which continue to come to light in respect and directly naming in that statement the King's younger brother, Mr. Mountbatten Windsor's conduct, where the statement points to the unprecedented actions that will likely be referring to when the King, if we cast our minds back to late last year, the King stripped his younger brother of his titles, including Duke of York and also Prince, which he had since he was born. But that statement continuing, while the specific claims in question are for Mr. Mountbatten Windsor to address, if we are approached by Thames Valley Police, we stand ready to support them, as you would expect. So a significant statement this evening from a palace spokesperson. And clearly, this issue is not going away for the royal family, but it appears that the King has decided that he has to put something further out. And we heard
he would likely get arrested for sharing state secrets, not for all of the other crimes, because there's a direct. Not only do they care more about that, unfortunately, but there's a direct paper trail where you have, you know, it's so weird how they treat these kind of crimes. Like there's tons of evidence, and then they're just like, oh, well, we don't have physical evidence, so we can't send this guy to jail. Meanwhile, there's like 20 women saying the same thing, and it's like, oh, it's his word against theirs. And it's like, but that, unfortunately, that is how it works. And with this situation, I think there's a deep paper trail with him giving away secrets to Epstein.
Earlier, didn't we, from the Prince and Princess of Wales, the Prince of Wales, Prince William, who is currently in Saudi Arabia on a trip there, asked by the UK government before he arrived in Saudi Arabia. Prince William and the Princess of Wales put out a statement. First time we heard from them publicly, saying that they were deeply concerned by the latest revelations about Jeffrey Epstein in their first public statement on the scandal. But this statement from the palace spokesperson this evening really going one step further, referring specifically to Mr. Mountbatten-Windsor's conduct and saying that while the specific claims in question are for Mr. Mountbatten-Windsor to address, if they are approached
Mr. Batten-Windsor
by the police.
It almost sounds like it's a fancier title than Prince Andrew, like his full name sounds like.
Then they are willing to support them.
That in itself is extraordinary, Helena, isn't it?
It is. We know that the King has previously put out various statements, and in this statement here this evening, it touches on Their Majesty's thoughts and sympathies have been and remain with the victims of any and all forms of abuse. We knew previously from sources that they felt that it was up to Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor as to whether he would answer any questions, and it was his conscience, really. But this evening, two things here, specifically naming Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor in this statement, and also that they are ready to support Thames Valley Police if they are approached. It is an extraordinary statement.
I like calling him that Andrew, formerly known as Prince, instead.
Well, that was our royal correspondent, Helena Wilkinson, talking to me a little bit earlier about what she herself described as an extraordinary statement from Buckingham Palace. There's more on that story on the BBC's website, but the fallout.
This is the some of what we got in regards to what's going on with Trump in there. And this is essentially one of the main things was that he lied about kicking Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago, essentially.
Well, remember, what Congress called for was a complete release of the files and just the redaction of the names of the victims. Now, unfortunately, the names of the victims were not redacted, relating to more than 100 women in the case. So that is baffling and staggering that would happen. But then there are thousands and thousands of pages replete with redactions. There are entire pages and memos where you can't see anything. It's all blacked out, and there are no names of victims in there. So it's just a very puzzling thing, and the Department of Justice needs to explain it. The whole country should be able to read what this federal law compelled them to produce. Well, remember.
Maybe that was the wrong one. That was somewhere, though. Oh, and from 2001 to 2011, Andrew served as the UK's special representative for international trade and investment, but resigned following scrutiny of his expenses and associations with controversial figures. Interesting. Did not know that. Let's see. I think I watched that one. There's a whole lot to get into with Epstein too, and I'll also get to some of the weird stuff like we'll look up the jerky thing and all that. Let's see. First, though, take a look at some updates on Clarence Thomas and the potential Sasha Riley connections and all that. So let's see what this is here. I marked it as removed Clarence records. So this must have been removed from the DOJ website. I wrote you previously. I'm the target of the very people who attacked me in 2021. I ended up in jail and didn't know why I was there. This is the one where it said that Sheriff Grady Judge was at the church and assaulting children, and Stephen Bannon and Clarence Thomas were involved with this, I believe. Let's see. DOJ removes, yeah. Must be on the second page then. Let's see. Yeah. Maybe the third page. Let's see. I think we had looked at these though. And it's not allowing me to search the page. That wasn't the most important thing though. There was also this very strange one that you know, the terrible thing of like humans and animals, or like humans doing things with animals that they shouldn't be doing. There's this email where Clarence Thomas and senators are talking about watching those kind of videos. And this isn't a tip from the FBI. This is a email from Jeffrey Epstein. So, let's take a look at this. I shall identify myself. Oh, wait. No, so this is from Paul Krasner. Okay, so Epstein forwarded this to Paul Krasner. It's always so hard to figure out who things are from, to and from. Either way, let's go to where it says Clarence Thomas, Senator Orrin Hatch, and Senator Alan Simpson. The three were meeting informally one week at the Judiciary Committee, voted for 7-7. Okay. The conversation I happened to hear had to do with those charges brought by Anita Hill and ignored by the members of the committee, both Democratic and Republican. At the point in time, I thought this was an appropriate response because the alternative would have been to hold an executive session, said Judge Thomas, and Judge Thomas would then had no practical choice. There's a lot of the equal signs in here and stuff, but to resort to heavy denial. Now, however, these men were, in jocular fashion, acknowledging the truth of what would turn out to be Professor Hill's allegations. Senator Simpson was saying, "You know, Clarence, I've seen some pretty raunchy porno movies in my time, but I never seen one where a lady was having with an animal." "I'll never forget it," Judge Thomas replied in his riveting, sonorous tone. "They were in a barn, except that inside of the barn was like a theater." This is Clarence Thomas describing a very. I want to know like where this is coming from, because Paul Krasner. I'm gonna have to look that up. And we don't know if why I leaked the Anita Hill affidavit. I'm gonna look that up. See what that is. But yeah, so Judge Thomas said, "I'll never forget it." Senator Hatch interjected, "Summer stock, hey? No pun intended." "There was a stage at the end," Judge Thomas continued his description, "and the stage was facing rows and rows of wooden folding chairs." Oh, okay, hold on, sorry. Good call, thanks. I forgot to switch over. They were haystacks piled up on the stage, and in front of the haystacks was a beautiful, buxom blonde woman and a donkey. Well, the woman began disrobing, and okay, I'm not going to continue there. YouTube will kill me. Doesn't sound all that sleazy to me, Senator Simpson said. Actually, it had Beethoven piano sonatas playing in the background, Judge Thomas said. It had the equal sign thing again. Well, when the woman was fully disrobed and the donkey was fully aroused, they began copulating. He says, geez, what the hell is this? Right there in front of those haystacks on the stage of that barn. Slow and sensual. I don't know what Clarence Thomas's voice is, so I can't really do a good Clarence Thomas impression. What the hell is this? The Senate office shook with raucous laughter, especially of the Judge Thomas. His booming guffaws rang like huge gongs in a church belfry. And I must admit, I had to suppress my own laughter. I had been totally caught by surprise, but I appreciated getting the insight. Homo sapiens, in reality, the only sapiens that has need for pornography. When the group's laughter finally began to simmer down, Senator Hatch said, I suppose that movie was one of the demands of the animal rights people. That's correct, Senator Simpson said. Saving animals' lives no longer enough. They need culture. No, I was not doing. Yeah, no, I was not intending to do that, zombie. I heard that RFK got his voice like that because of smoking crack, and it wasn't like a medical condition. Like a lot of people that were in his family said that, I believe. I'm not sure if I'm just hearing that, but no, I appreciate the warning, man. I would never want to do something like that. I'm glad nobody considered calling her to testify against me, even for a closed door session, Judge Thomas said. But you fellas will really love this. Anita Hill was a very opinionated young lady. Actually, she and I once had an extremely animated discussion on the decriminalization of abortion. Can you imagine what the Democrats would have done with that? I want to look this art because I feel like let's see. I'm looking up why I leaked the Anita Hill affidavit. Okay, so Anita Hill was somebody who I think I remember this story. The FBI did an investigation into Hill's accusation. It took 3 days. So this was back in the 90s. President H.W. Bush nominated then federal appeals court Judge Thomas to succeed Judge Thurgood Marshall. Hill was first approached by the Judiciary Committee and was invited to provide background information on Thomas because she worked with him, according to a New York Times article the following month, which cites a written statement from Hill that we sent to the newspaper. So this was like way back. This is an old article. But I kind of want to get this context here. Thomas' initial hearings before the Senate Judiciary Committee began. According to then Senator Joe Biden, Hill first told the committee of her allegations on this day and responded in the Times. Biden said she insisted her name not be used and Thomas not be told of the accusations, effectively tying the committee's hands. After Hill spoke with the committee, an FBI investigation was suggested. To her, according to comments she made at news conference earlier that month, published in the Times, I spoke with the Judiciary Committee in September. Through another discussions. It was not until the 20th of September that an FBI investigation was suggested to me. There was even further breakdown after that, what information would be shared. So there was a number of different points at which communication broke down. Understandings were not carried through enough. So this was a woman that had allegations against Clarence Thomas. and he seemed to get away with it and get sworn in anyway. But I wish I would. I wish I could figure out what this case has to do with that email there. I mean, it appears to be. Let's go back and look at it here. It appears to be something not that Paul Krasser wrote, but that Paul Krasser copied and sent to Epstein. So I don't know if this is somebody that wrote a op-ed. Oh, I see. The subject line is Deja Vu by PK. Let me look up Anita Hill affidavit Deja Vu. Because it could mean he's got deja vu from his own case or something, you know? And the details of it. Hill also recounted an instant in which he examined a can of Coke. Oh, PK Paul Krasner. Okay. So maybe it is. Okay, so maybe it was this was from the author. And maybe he was just sending it to Epstein for approval or something like that. Okay. That makes sense. I certainly set a higher like this is quite an interesting story. So this is him saying that he witnessed this. No, because it says I shall identify myself as a female aide. It's a very, very strange strange case indeed, talking about and this was 2018, talking about Clarence Thomas with some, really messed up video in a barn. And then another thing I saw was that Trump was actually in Alabama at the time that Sasha claimed. Many have questioned why Trump would have been in Alabama in the 80s since he was primarily building skyscrapers and traveling along the NYC and East Coast circuit. However, this video shows that he did travel to Alabama, specifically in 1984, the same year that Sasha believes the event likely occurred.
First, we have Mr. Donald Trump, who is the visitor from New York City and the New Jersey General's owner. Sitting with us, Mr. Marvin Warner, who is a native son of this great state and has got to be very happy with the big crowd we've got today. First, as the visitor, Donald, let's welcome you to the community of the USFL, and your intense interest in merchandising, I think, has been striking from the very beginning.
Well, thank you very much, Keith. It's great. I think they have 65,000 people, I just heard, Marvin, so I congratulate you. It's been really fabulous. We're very happy.
I think the general way that you have been presented in the media is money. You have absolutely declared that you're going to compete. You've competitive to this point, but you've got one more crop to harvest, perhaps, following the NFL draft. Is that the next phase that we see where the USFL owners are making their move for better people?
I think it could very well be, Keith, but the quality of the league, you see it just in the play today. It's an exciting game. The people are going wild.
It's kind of wild. So that is some of the new things that were kind of discovered on that front. Yeah, that is true about Donald being out of view. So another thing that people have found through the files that have come out recently is that the New Mexico ranch was never searched. Neither was the Paris property. And there was plenty of crime going on through those properties as well. And the Zorro Ranch in New Mexico was probably even one of the worst from what we're gathering. Let's see. We're not exactly sure what our ability is to provide the trustees with what is effectively discovery in a now defunct criminal case against Epstein himself. That said, I can convey that we did produce to defense counsel detailed search warrant returns in connection with the New York property. Perhaps you would be able to obtain those from Epstein's criminal defense counsel. In particular, I believe that you're looking for, okay, let's see. We will also review the status of the search warrant return with respect to the island property, and we have not searched the New Mexico property. And I hope that this is useful in the interim. This was 2019 after his death, and they said it was a now defunct criminal case. Pretty crazy. And I think that there was another link in regards to that. Unless it's the same one that I saved. Oh, yeah. And apparently he had a second island called Great St. James. And they didn't search that either. Great St. James done evacuations to start building there in 2016, including permits for subterranean and underwater evacuations. But the evacuations were then filled in, suggesting either tunnel work or something abandoned. There's definitely tunnels under the under some of the properties. I have, yeah, and apparently it's called Great St. James, and the other one's called Little St. James. So I'd imagine that the other one's even bigger. There are emails where they talked about tunnels, and I have them too. Dekoff also happened to have worked in New York finance at the same time as Epstein and lived just a few miles away from Epstein's Island in St. Thomas. What's up with Dekoff? Before any investigation was done through the estate, he sold both islands in 2022. So this must have been the lawyers to real estate mogul Stephen Dekoff. Crazy. There's this actually happened a little bit ago, a couple days ago, but this is my first time seeing it. This is actually pretty wild how this guy gets caught in real time and on Fox nonetheless. And I'm pretty sure he's like a right-wing dude.
Jeffrey Epstein's jet, were you?
No, I've never met Jeffrey Epstein. I've never been on his plane. I want to put these rumors to bed. I've never met Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know him. I don't want to be connected to this.
Well, these images have just been released, and it clearly shows you pictured with Jeffrey Epstein multiple times. What's going on there?
I've never seen those images before. This is the first time I'm seeing them. Now that I recall, I may have flown on his plane once, but he was just a financier. He was just a businessman, and we were just doing business.
You were...
It was just a business thing, and we were just doing business. Bro, like, you're so guilty. And yeah, this I don't like either. Okay, so now we're gonna start to get into some of the weird stuff. So this was sent from somebody to Jeffrey Epstein in, let's start at the bottom. From Jeffrey Epstein. I always enjoy any, wait, got something specific in mind, or will a new release of custom compilations do the trick? I always enjoy any form of release. Rarely have I received a truly customized one, and a compilation of same would be too much to even think about. And then he says, it will be ready on Tuesday. And what would you like for your birthday? He says, I only want live. I only want live. So maybe he says, I only want to live, you know? It is a skit? No, it can't be a skit. Yeah, we're gonna look into the jerky thing. I'm probably gonna go for a little bit longer than usual tonight because I got a lot to get into there. And I haven't even like looked it. I'll be kind of live searching that one. Have you seen the emails Trump sent to EP? Dear PDFs, but the actual word? No, I did not. It is a skit. But it's like, oh, I might have to. I might have gotten pranked by that. I'll have to check that out. But yeah, this is the weird sentence here. You know the line about scientists treating their bodies only as a way to transport their heads. With you, it's more complicated question is which head it is transporting. I don't have anything. Live your style. However, you won't need too much help with this quick release compilation. That like it's just weird. Like, what the hell are they talking about with the quick release compilation? And this is from a redacted person. And somebody did some zooming. I mean, that guy was a legit Fox News host who, you know, I mean, not legit. He is on the. I hate to use the word legit for any Fox News host. So, like, look, this person's zooming in on this, and they think that these are instruments of torture on this table here. Let's take another look. I'll what's up with the music? So yeah, let me pause it when it gets up to the that does look, I don't know, it's a little bit blurry. But it looks sketch. I mean, on the top of there is a little bit blurry. They do look like steel tools of some sort. Now, what's going on in the rest? Yeah, I don't know what that look, you know? And then you got this big table in here. I don't know. But when it is combined with stuff like this, you all might have seen this. Where is it? Let's see. Isn't this it? He got sent a large volume of sulfuric acid. Let me see. Yeah, here it is. Let's see. Oh, okay. This is the email that shows when the investigation into Epstein started, right? So you see February, this is why I saved this one. February 28th, 2025. He ordered the sulfuric acid like a day later. Let's take a look at the other one. Let's see here. So here, look at this. Gemini Seawater Systems, LLC. What's that? December 6th. Or wait, yeah, December 6th, 2018. This is February 28th, 2025. So, wait, okay. Oh, no, wait, 12/6. I was reading the wrong thing. FBI initiated trafficking case after against Jeffrey Epstein. So, yeah. 12/6/2018, 12/6/2018. Right here's the order form. It says 6 55-gallon drums, not just one, 6 55-gallon drums of sulfuric acid with fuel and insurance charge for transport, materials for conductivity probes, replacement pH and cables, RO plant. That is very, very strange. Yeah, exactly. When this compared with Steve Bannon's acid hot tub, little bit weird. I mean, the timing is definitely different, but you know what I mean. They could he could have been sharing tips for sure. That one's wild. And then when you combine it with things like this, like look at this. This was inside his house on the island. What kind of supervillain shit is this? This is a trap door that leads into the sea. Like, do you have sharks down there? Or like piranhas that like eat your bodies or something? What is going on? This is crazy. And the tunnel thing, yeah, we talked about the tunnels. Look at these emails. Is this the one? Hold up payment of $100,000. Had direction from the okay, yeah. Had direction from the team that added tunnels and office below the main house. That's passed. So sounds like the tunnels have been there since well before 2009 in one of the main properties. And now there's another email here confirming the same. Danny worked this morning at main compound, cell tower, coffee bench light, master light, terrace light. A plan where you want vehicles in the sheds and tunnels along with storage. So they're just casually talking about putting things in the tunnels. This from Epstein to 4 different people. So this is obviously to his staff telling them, you know, what to do. I want to see what are the potential uses for sulfuric acid. The main use in the production is the production of fertilizers. It is used to manufacture explosives, other acid, dyes, glue, wood preservatives, and automobile batteries. It is used in the purification of petroleum, the picking of metal, copper smelting, electroplating, metalwork, and the production of rayon. And let's see. See, like this is like top 5 legal uses. Pharmaceuticals, fertilizers. I mean, these are all a lot less likely than him disintegrating evidence of some sort, you know? Let's see. Am I going to be searching like things that like the FBI is going to come after me now? Like, what are the potential uses of sulfuric acid? Like disposing of body. Do killers use it? You gotta be careful these days. Here we go. In mid to late 1940s, one of England's most notorious killers, John Haight, used sulfuric acid to dispose at least 6 victims. He was known as the acid bath killer. Okay, they also use it for stripping barnacles off the bottom of a boat, but if you were going to dissolve a body, you would want to use the base instead of an acid. And no, a million people asked. I stuffed everyone. Yeah, that is a potential there. I can see that. Like because he did have boats, so that is a potential other possibility there. But yeah, that's kind of weird, ain't it? So yeah, let's take a look at the jerky thing. Let's see what's going on there because I've been hearing a bunch of weird stuff about it. I haven't looked at Gmail myself yet. So let's see what's going on here. Jerky. I also saw the white tuna thing, which, and I know some of the skeptics are saying that a lot of these jerky emails are to a chef, and that chef has been cleared by the FBI. But how much are you trusting the FBI at this point? Let's see. Why don't I go back to the beginning jerky? There's like at least 4 pages of jerky here. Greg Bounds, Rican and reading, checking in, jerky, great stuff. I mean, I've never heard anything about him eating a lot of jerky. That was never a thing. It's like high-end jerky, great stuff. JE is interested in beef and turkey jerkies. I know one company out of Brooklyn that does a great grass-fed product. It is high-end jerky, great stuff. So this is from the chef for sure. Let's see. Ham, okay, oh thanks. A lot of these are recipes. The white tuna thing is weird though. Make some jerky today, thanks. It's marinating. Sorry I won't get to see you. You get the jerky yet? Feeling better. It's like they just talk so much about jerky and it is a little bit strange. It isn't? It is? I was wondering what that was on those pics. Jerky in the fridge last time. Please keep it. The grass-fed. See, like, there is some plausible deniability here because they do seem to be talking about actual jerky in some circumstances. And then in other circumstances, it sounds weird as hell. Let's see. Know if there are any questions, and thanks in advance for your help. I want to look at that white tuna thing in a minute too. Why didn't we get jerky this week? Said you could not do it until Friday. Please explain. He's serious about his jerky. That's the other thing that people were saying, like, because of the fact that he's like so serious about this jerky. Too late, but I hope you are better. Oh, wait. Yeah. Why doesn't it have all the responses in there? Thank you. I tried phoning, but it seems you were sleeping the whole day. Thank you so much. I added more to the jerky and ginger lemongrass. We'll know more tomorrow night. Similar to jerky, but crunchy. The prosciutto chips were a new thing I thought you might like. Clearly you didn't. I was thinking about them last week and thought you'd enjoy the crunch and the fact that they're all meat. Similar to jerky, but crunchy. So most of these are with this chef. Did he really eat that much jerky? Jerky in the fridge last time. Spray ginger drink jerky. Jerky will be with me when I get to see, like, what's this? How do we deal with frozen white tuna? This is the weird one. How do we deal with frozen white tuna? Jerky will be with me when I get to LSJ. I can come tomorrow and take care of white tuna if you'd like. I'm due back in NYC by this evening. That sounds weird as hell. Like, what are you doing? I am on the island with it. What can Jen do? What? Jerky will be with me. That like because it's the reason why it definitely seems like some kind of code shit is because their answers seem like non sequiturs to each other. You know what I mean? Like, is very strange. Yeah, I know. He did have a very limited diet from what I heard, from at least what Virginia Giuffre says in her book. And maybe like he was on the spectrum and had some ARFID. I mean that's what I deal with, like with extremely picky eating, sensory issues. Um so it is possible that that is a thing. But when you're rich, you don't have to worry about it. You just have people make you human jerky, I guess. Steve needs a 6 to 8 ounce portion of jerky. I gave you all the jerky we had, roughly 2 pounds, and it lasted only half the amount of time it was meant to. I felt it was more important for you to have the jerky to eat during my time off. My plan is to make a batch before I leave for LSJ, and some of that will then go to Steve and the rest of you at LSJ when I arrive. Weird. He says, we talked about this at the ranch. Why isn't it done? I need my jerky. He didn't say that last part. For real, my dig got into my bag, I guess maybe dog. When I returned, ate the jerky. Francis is off. Feeling now how making is another better island, thanks. 6 ounces, which is actually what they did half the mile they need today. So run. See, like some of this shit is such non sequiturs. Sent from Stephen Hansen's BlackBerry. Maybe it was the chef's wife. That is a good. See, look at this. Hope you are feeling better. Did we analyze the jerky? Did we analyze the jerky? What are you talking about? Francis has time to come tomorrow to show me how to make it. Jerky class, anyone? He will also bring you a taste of his new jerky recipe from the restaurant and sends a warm hello. He will be working at a restaurant called Cannibal and Cooks. What? No, come on now. No. No. What? Wait for it. Beef jerky and steak. He has time at 3 p.m. All right. All right. I don't know about this now. This is what? That's a little bit too on the nose. No, I did not pre-research any of this jerky stuff. I just heard everybody talking about it and I wanted to check it out. I did not know what I was in for. And they really had me in the first half when they were talking about oh yeah, I thought that was okay. I misunderstood that what that was. That is funny. Wow. That is great. Yeah, I man. I he's working at a restaurant called Cannibal and Cooks. That is outrageous. Sent 2013. This jerky thing, man, there might be something to this. Hey, would it be possible for you to make another batch of jerky for JE, please? He is running out. This is wild. I wasn't really that convinced until that last one. And the white tuna thing, that was very odd too. A couple of them were quite odd, actually. Francis has time to come tomorrow to show me. Oh, wait. That we read that one. It's just him replying yes to it. Let's see if there's any more jerky emails. I will come to teach jerky class, and we can also cover chocolate cream pie if you can agree to pay me through this pay period. So I would then receive my last full paycheck on the 29th this month. Please read below from Francis. J.E. asked me to forward this to you. Please ask him about it. They're checking in for dryness. The restaurant CNC is in LA. That's a real restaurant? Cannibal and Cooks. I'm seeing this on Threads. I'm not sure. No. I mean, I'm not seeing. Did I spell it wrong? Oh, it's an I. It doesn't matter. I'm not seeing the Oh, you don't know if it's still there? Interesting. I guess it was sent in what, 2013? See what else we got on the jerky. Jeff's jerky. Should I be making more jerky? Just wanted to just wanted to touch base about jerky. J.E. said he was going to start eating regular food again, so he might be eating less jerky. That said, he has 6 bags of it in the downstairs freezer for his next trip. I believe it should be enough to get him through. Any other questions, please let me know. What? I mean, maybe he does have some ARFID, you know? That is wild. That's a weird one right there. I'm sorry. Add that to the collection of weird ass emails about jerky. When are you going to start? When are you going to start eating normal food again? You have 6 pounds of it, or whatever it was. I think it was more than 6 pounds, wasn't it? Like 6 bags of it. Okay, that's a poppers. I don't know about that. Let's see. Electro poppers, jalapeno poppers. Nah, I didn't think he got down like that for sure. But actually, yeah, yeah, he probably did actually. Beef jerky. I can't. That's some shit. Yeah, there is a chance. There is a chance. I'm not ruling it out that there was. But the great late Hannibal Lecter. Amazing. Hi, Steve on Jeffrey's Island is requesting the latest beef jerky recipe. Thank you, Steve, but I have now been told the old way that Francis was doing it, that he likes the best, not his latest batch. So Redacted on LSJ is going to try and do it that way. There's just a lot of attention paid to this jerky. But thinking about it, and like I said, I am a person with ARFID. If I was rich as hell, there would probably be staff figuring out my food situation every day. And it would probably be them talking about the same 3 foods. I mean, there's some really weird shit in here, though. For sure. I'm trying to see if there's anything else with this search term. Oh, there was another search term I wanted to go for as well. Oh, the tuna one. Yeah, we got that one. Oh, yeah, I did have this one, though. So, here's another rabbit hole we gotta figure out to go down. Oh, no, I mean, I'm leaning on the fact that, yeah, they're probably eating people. Um, so we found out yesterday that U.S. Secretary of the Navy John Fallon was on Epstein's flight logs with Jean-Luc Brunel multiple times, but it's gotten weirder because look at this. This is in the dude's house. He's got all these faces on his wall. Remember these faces from the dentist room? Look at this. He's got, now they're not exactly the same, but he's got these heads on his wall. What's going on with this? That's a little bit strange. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, maybe it is like the eyes wide shut masks. That's a good suggestion. It could be like a reference to that. Um, Definitely very strange. Oh yeah, good call. Try tuna for a frequent reference. There is definitely a lot of tuna in here too. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure it is art, but what does the art represent? You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe it represents some kind of shared belief or inside joke that they know about. I'm not sure. Unless there is a like a specific artist that does that kind of stuff that has a background that I'm unaware of. Days left to save the tuna. Oh, this is like a ocean preservation kind of deal. Lunch ordered, tuna. See, he did eat a lot of fish. But I heard that it was salmon specifically that he was eating constantly, which that is one of my safe foods as well, actually. How do we do this was the how do we deal with the frozen tuna one? Tuna or chicken salad, great tuna, more chopped celery and tuna. These sound a little bit more legit, except for the how do we deal with the frozen white tuna? Because if you're like a rich dude, you know, you go get more frozen white tuna. Like, especially this guy, he doesn't seem like he's like frugal, you know? There's a lot of tuna in here. You like the albacore tuna? The tuna seems a little bit more above board than the jerky, I'll say. Jay wants to make sure you send white tuna and steak to Zorro with him. He's planning on leaving Thursday night currently. He really damn well may have had ARFID because they're hitting all the safe food notes here. With a luncheonette and good tuna. But I mean, he could have both had ARFID and also been eating people, which it is a weird overlap, but is not out of the realm of possibility, especially if you're like a complete demon like this guy was. I am mostly seeing just menu selections with this one. Tuna, dried seaweed from the food market. Oh, okay. So this one is weird. I spoke with Lynn yesterday about your diet, muffins in the morning, ginger drink, and jerky throughout the day. We spoke about possible steak and egg lunch, which didn't seem to be a problem. You haven't requested tuna from me since the ranch, and I'd hate to leave you a piece of steak that was cooked 24 hours ago to eat today. I was under the belief that Lynn would take care of your needs today. I would have and would have been more than happy to prepare lunch for you. I saw you were going out for dinner tonight, and I thought that's why I needed today. He copied, I was under the belief that Lynn would take care of your needs today. I'm happy to come prepare food for you. Bad decision making on my part. Yup, yup. I know all about the ginger drink. Yeah, I think it was just the weird one with the white tuna, with the what are we gonna do with this frozen white tuna? A lot of that jerky stuff was strange, man. That I wasn't expecting it to get that weird. Well, thanks for joining me tonight. I think that's all I got on links. But oh wait, can you search that for Trump? I thought I saw his name as Sushi Roll. Trump sushi. Wow, why is there 6,000? Yeah, by the time I saw that, I had already went past that one. He did talk about Trump frequently, though. Waterboard backfell at Guantanamo Bay. It's like the only person I probably agree with on that. Uh, to have that happen to. But yeah, I don't know if I could dig back and get that one. Yeah, it might not be. It might not be. It does seem like they were talking in code because there were definitely a lot of weird non sequiturs there. Meat sticks. See if that's in there. There's, sir, we have goose meat in the kitchen fridge lower cabinet. I found a meat supplier. Please, no more meat left out. Meat and fish must be eaten from the pan. And it's very interesting that you're emailing about the meal stuff instead of just telling your chef, you know? Um, I don't know how it works having a personal chef. Would be pretty awesome though. Stick better with black tables. I'm not sure. No, I did not hear about the human aquarium thing. That sounds interesting though. I'll have to look into that. Oh, nice, nice. I'll check them out, Zombie. Thank you. Ah, I see. Okay. Cool. Thank you for that. And thanks for joining me again. I will catch y'all tomorrow. We have our Discord open. So please feel free to jump in there, share some links, and yeah, join the conversation. Until tomorrow, I will catch you then.